Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Well, the Saints have had a good bit of turnover on their staff here this offseason. Of course, they've lost both of their co-defensive coordinators, turned over a couple of staff spots that were intentional, I guess we could say, where guys weren't retained. And then you've had, obviously, Ryan Nielsen, who got a promotion, going to be the Falcons' defensive coordinator. Zach Strief, who's now the offensive line coach with the Denver Broncos. And Dennis Allen could be on the verge of losing potentially another assistant. This just in from Tom Pelissero. The Cardinals have requested an interview with Saints running back coach Joel Thomas for their OC job, per source. That's Tom Pelissero. And soon to be from Dov Kleeman, per Tom Pelissero. Actually, can we check to see if Dov has it yet? I bet he does.
He actually doesn't yet.
He will soon. There's no question. Dov Kleeman, of course, as we maintain here, is not a real person. Dov Kleeman is it's an account run by a real person, but Dov Kleeman is not a real person. He's a made up guy that just repurposes other news sources, and he's got a really big Twitter following. So that'll be there soon, no doubt. But I can't tell you the Joel Thomas news is a little. It's a little interesting, mostly because I think the Saints, look, this was his 8th season with the Saints and his 15th year in coaching. So he got to the Saints in 2015, and the Saints have had a lot of success on the ground in that time. Of course, you had Mark Ingram in place, and then you drafted Alvin Kamara, and Ingram-Kamara in tandem were really good for a few years. Of course, Mark Ingram, the Saints weren't able to reach a free agent deal. Ingram went to Baltimore and then to Houston. As we know, the Saints brought him back. I mean, you all know the story. But, boy, this wouldn't actually exactly be the year where you would tout the running backs coach. The Saints didn't draft a running back, but they invested a relatively large amount of money in Abram Smith, the Baylor running back, as an undrafted free agent. To think that he might be that guy, didn't make the team. You whiffed on guys like David Johnson, Eno Benjamin, who you brought in. You had Mark Ingram back, and he was injured late in the season, but really wasn't very productive when he was healthy. Kamara, by Kamara standards, didn't have a great year, but still had over 200 attempts and ran for 900 yards and was your third leading receiver. So, Kamara had a very productive season on an offensive team that just wasn't very good. But we'll follow this to see that the Cardinals are interviewing an awful lot of people for that gig, and we'll see if in fact Joel Thomas ends up getting that job, and if Dennis Allen needs to replace his running backs coach as well. But what we do know is that the Saints have hired 5 new assistants, and the interesting thing about the hires that they made, by and large, they're coaches that have ties to Dennis Allen. Joe Woods is the new defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen hired him in Oakland. Marcus Robertson is the new secondaries coach. Dennis Allen hired him in Oakland. Of course, there's Todd Grantham, Clancy Barone, Kevin Carberry also joined the staff. Dennis Allen did an interview with John DeShazer over at the Saints website at NewOrleansSaints.com. And one of the things that Dennis Allen said, I'm reading this quote from Dennis Allen. He said, again, this is a quote from Dennis Allen. He said, "The number one thing was I was looking to make some changes on the staff. I wanted guys that I knew exactly what I was getting. I had familiarity with these coaches, and they're all really good coaches." He talked about Joe Woods. Joe Woods was a guy hired in Oakland in 2014. Him and Marcus Robertson also in 2014, both as secondary coaches. They both worked for me together in Oakland. When you look at their resume over the course of their resumes, they've had a ton of success. He talks about, Joe was there in Denver when they won the Super Bowl. He goes through the list of these guys and his familiarity with them. And I guess there are two ways to look at that. Number one, you could say it's great to have that familiarity and continuity on staff. And in one respect, that's true because there's an expectation of there's an understanding of what the head coach's expectation is. We saw that with Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, when he came into LSU, brought some of his Notre Dame staff with him. He brought Brian Polian. He brought Jake Flint. He tried to bring Tommy Rees, as we know. And I think there is a great benefit to that, of bringing in guys that have familiarity with you. But look beyond that as well. I mean, Brian Kelly had no awareness or relationship with Frank Wilson. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't know anything about Cortez Hankton. They weren't friends, hadn't worked together, nothing like that. But he knew what holes he had to fill on his staff. He needed ties to Louisiana, ties to New Orleans for recruiting. And he blended a staff of guys he knew and guys that knew Louisiana that fit the culture that he was looking for. He was very comfortable and confident in his ability to go hire good coaches. And that's a collegiate example, but it's what and what. It's less about college or NFL and more about, as a leader, do you know what you're looking for? Are you confident enough in your ability to identify the qualities of successful people in that position and then go hire them? I mean, if you want the antithesis of that, it's what Ed Ogeron did here. All Ed did was promote from within and hire people he knew, and it blew up. Or he took the recommendations of people who told him, just hire this guy. I mean, that's how you end up with Bo Pelini, who was lazy and done. So there are some coaches who just deserve the benefit of the doubt. Bill Belichick deserves the benefit of the doubt. If Bill Belichick wants to bring Bill O'Brien back to New England, they've had success together, and Bill Belichick deserves the benefit of the doubt. Nick Saban deserves the benefit of the doubt. He's had enough turnover on his staff, and time again, he finds guys. Actually, that's a great example of going outside of your tree, outside of your circle. Saban had no ties to Lane Kiffin. He had no ties to Brian Daboll. Had no ties to Bill O'Brien. He's gone and identified good coaches that do the things that he wants. He's brought them in. And so when I look at Dennis Allen, retaining a lot of Sean Payton's staff a year ago was a problem because it wasn't his staff. And you saw the issues that you had. Well, now he's going to hire, and it feels like he's just making the same mistake. He's going and hire guys that he's comfortable with, that he knows. Like, it's been a long time since Dennis Allen was a coach in Oakland in 2014. It's been almost a decade. Think about the number of coaches that have come into the league and out of the league since 2014. Think about how much the league has changed since 2014. Y'all, 2014, the Carolina Panthers won the division at 7-8-1 in 2014. Cam Newton won the MVP a year later. Cam Newton's out of the league. I mean, that's been so... He had Matt McGloin on his roster in 2014. Like, the league has changed so much. Identify good young coaching talent, go get it. That's what worries me. Well, I mean, it reinforces my concern about Dennis Allen. It reinforces my feeling that I just don't think Dennis Allen's ever going to be a great head coach. Defensive coordinator, absolutely. He's got the resume. He's got the track record. He has got the skins on the wall as a DC to know that this is a great defensive coach in the NFL. There's a difference between being a good defensive coordinator and being a good head coach. Say it all the time. It's the difference between being a lieutenant and a general. Not every lieutenant's meant to be a general. And I think this is just evidence of it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope all these hires prove to be great. But I would think to a man, we would all agree, or to a woman, to a person, the biggest thing the Saints needed to change this year was their offense. And you blew out Dan Rauscher. I mean, you made your run game coordinator The fall guy, the tight ends coach, the fall guy. You didn't change the thing fundamentally that made your offense so bad. And that's a problem. Either the inability to identify that or the unwillingness to change it. And that's the problem. And I think that's going to persist. That's going to continue to be the problem for the New Orleans Saints for as long as Dennis Allen's there. 5 new coaches join the staff. Guys that Dennis Allen's familiar with. I'm not so sure that's a great thing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.